Hey everyone, this is Steven here, back at it again with another video. In today's video, I plan on doing a brief market update of the NFL, NBA, and MLB sports card market. And then I want to take that data and findings and kind of show you the specific cards that I am currently buying, selling, and holding, and some of the cards that I bought over the last month or so. But before we get into that, if you enjoy this type of content and would like to see more in the future, please feel free to hit the like button and also subscribe. So now that we got that out of the way, we can get into the actual video. And the main goal of this video is to give a brief overview of the current sports card market, and we're going to be looking at MLB, NBA, and NFL sports card markets. And I want to use this data and some of the trends that we're seeing, and then I'm going to show some of the cards, based on the trends that I've been seeing, some of the cards that I've been buying, selling, and holding. So at the end of the video, I'm actually going to go over some of the physical cards and show some of the cards that I bought over the last month or so. And this is all based off of some of the trends that I've been seeing. But this video is in no means trying to tell you which specific cards to go out and buy, sell, or hold. I'm merely just trying to show my thought process on how I go about looking at some of these trends and buying some of these cards. So that's the main purpose of the video, is to get a better understanding of the current market situations and trying to use some of the trends to make some better purchases. But with that being said, we can get into the video. I'm going to start with the MLB card market, and this is going to be pretty short because not a lot's going on. I'm going to start with Ronald Acuna Jr. here, and I have his 2018 Topps Chrome base rookie card and then his Topps Update rookie card. And as you can see, both of the cards peaked at the beginning of the MLB season. And this is what we typically see, is we see a peak or a high at the start of the season, and then once the hype wears down, we see it to slowly start trending down. So this is expected. So Acuna Jr. cards are coming down. However, the overall trends that we're seeing is MLB is actually holding up a lot better than NBA card market, and then also NFL. The MLB cards are soft right now, but they aren't going down nearly as much as some of the other card markets, but we still are seeing some downtrends here. So Acuna Jr. cards are still down from the peak in the start of the season. And then Mike Trout, again, his cards peaked at the beginning of the season. They've been slowly trending down. So not a lot has changed here. He did get injured, but his cards are still slowly trending down. And then another one that has gone down pretty significantly is Juan Soto. And his cards, again, peaked at the beginning of the season, and they've been trending down pretty rapidly. He had a slower start with some injuries at the beginning of the season. These are some of the cards, actually, that I've been looking at, and you'll see at the end of the video. But I'm pretty intrigued with some of Juan Soto's cards right now, as they have been trending downwards for quite some time, and they are going down a lot faster than some of the other cards. So this is definitely intriguing to me. And then there are some cards going up, actually. So Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is one of the hottest players in the game right now. Shohei Ohtani has been doing really well. So their cards actually have been trending up throughout the season. So we have seen some cards go up in the MLB card market. But overall, the consensus is most of the cards are seeing a lot of softness, and they're trending downwards, just not as fast or as quick as some of the other card markets. And then next, we're going to transition to the NFL market. And again, this one's going to be a quicker segment too, because there's still not a lot going on since I did this last video about a month ago on the market updates. So we're going to start with Patrick Mahomes here, and his cards are still trending downward. And I think this is a good generalization of how the NFL card market is going. We're still seeing a lot of weakness and softness in the NFL card market. Traditionally, we see the cards slowly start to creep up in the off season, and then they tend to peak similar to the MLB at the start of the season when the hype is the highest. So those are some of the trends we're going to be looking forward to moving forward. And then another player is Josh Allen, and this is 2018 Prism base card, and this card peaked here in about February, it looks like, and then it's been slowly trending down. So again, we're seeing some softness, but a little flattening in the Josh Allen card market right now. And then the one that really caught my eye is this Lamar Jackson, and this one peaked last August, and then it's been going down, just pretty much straight down since then. So this card looks like it's flatlining here. It looks like it's been around the same price since January of this year, and it's been kind of trending at the same level. But this is still well below the peak, and I understand there are a lot of risks for Lamar Jackson, but I do think that for me personally, I am watching this card right now. I think that this card, if it keeps going a little lower, I could potentially, be interested in picking up a Prism or another one of his more limited rookie cards, and then just waiting until the beginning of the season. I'm hoping the hype will increase this card up, and then I'm going to plan on selling that at the beginning of the season, because I'm not the biggest Lamar Jackson fan, but this recent downtrend is pretty intriguing to me. But overall, for the NFL card market, we are seeing still a lot of softness, but it does look like it's starting to flatten out a little bit, and the anticipation and what we've seen in the past is that these cards are going to start trending upwards once, there's more hype around the season starting. So that's something that we should be looking forward to in the next couple months, is some more hype around the NFL season. And then now we're going to transition over to the NBA card market, and we're going to start, as we always do, with Luka. So I have his 2018 Optic base rookie card and his Prism rookie card. I know these are both base cards with higher print runs, but I think this shows a good generalization of how the NBA card market is currently going. So as you can see, they peaked in about December of last year, and they've been trending down ever since then, and it looks like we have seen a little bit of flatness over the last month or so. But still, it looks like the overall trend for Luka is still going down. Again, these are his base cards. Some of his more limited cards are holding up a little better, but still the overall trend for Luka and the NBA card market is still trending downwards, even though the playoffs have started. And then the next player I want to focus in on, and this one is intriguing, and you'll see towards the end of the video, but this is Kevin Durant, and I filtered on his Topps base rookie card, and that's the black variation, and then the factory set, which is the white, and then the orange factory set variation. I have this too. So as you can see, his cards, similar to Luka's, they peaked, the beginning of this year, and they've been pretty much going straight down since then. So I think this is just going to show, how soft and weak the NBA card market is currently that we're seeing. Kevin Durant is an intriguing pickup for me, and you'll see towards the end of the video, but I think that he's going to be one of the greatest scorers of all time, and I think that this downtrend that we're seeing could be an opportunity, and that this is currently a card that I'm looking at right now, because I'm a big believer in Kevin Durant, and I think that he's going to end up being one of the greatest scorers of all time. So I am very intrigued by the recent downtrends in Kevin Durant. And then another player that I'm pretty intrigued by is LeBron James, and I know it seems like half the people hate LeBron, half the people love LeBron, but as you can see here, his card, and this is his Topps Chrome, so this is a pretty expensive card. It peaked in February. That was when he was making his MVP run, but then he got hurt with an ankle injury, and ever since then, his card has been trending pretty much straight down. They just got knocked out of the playoffs, so I do anticipate this card to continue to spiral downwards, potentially another 10 to 30%. Depending on how the market reacts, but this is definitely a card that I'll be looking out for, because I mentioned this before, but I do think over the long term, I think he's going to go down as, the top 1 or 2 players of all time, and I think that him getting knocked out in the playoffs, it's more of a short-term impact, but again, that's just my opinion. So this is a card that I'm definitely watching, and I do anticipate it to go down another, 10 to 30%, but we'll see. But I'm definitely intrigued by some of the LeBron James rookie cards, because they are trending downwards pretty significantly. So those are some of the cards that are going down. I did want to focus on a couple of players that are having decent playoff runs. So as we can see here, Donovan Mitchell did come back from that ankle injury, and he played the first series. He missed the first game, but he's been back, and he's been playing pretty well. So if you can see here, it looks like his cards kind of flatlined here a little bit ago, and then ever since then they've been slightly increasing. So we did see a little bit of a playoff bump, not that significant for Donovan Mitchell. I do anticipate if he does have another next series big playoff run, I do think that there could potentially be some pop in his cards. So I currently have some Mitchell cards in my PC that, if he does have a good next series, I will be looking to sell some of his cards, because I do think that there will be, an initial pop if he does go off for a couple games in the next series. And then another player that's been doing pretty well is Devin Booker. So they just beat the Lakers, and as you see here, it looks like his cards were at a low about a week ago. And then ever since then, they did see a pretty good run-up, and this is his PSA 9 Prism. So he has seen a little bit of a playoff bump there. We do have pretty limited data still, because, they just beat the Lakers in the playoffs. So this is still pretty short time period, so we're still looking out to see how his cards react. But we have seen a little bit of an increase in Devin's cards over, the last week or so, ever since they beat the Lakers. And then another player, I don't have his chart up, but another player that's been doing really well is Trae Young. They just knocked off the Knicks, and he's had a really good series. He has seen a little bit of a playoff spike. So some of his base cards are maintaining, or they're a little flat, but then the rest of his more limited cards have seen a pretty significant increase. So we still are seeing some price increases in the NBA card market. It just depends on the specific player and how that team does moving forward. But overall, it still seems like the NBA card market is still really soft. However, some cards will go up due to, playoff performance and how their team is doing. But overall, in general, the consensus for the NBA card market is still trending down. And we're still seeing some softness in the NFL card market, and then also some softness in the MLB card market, but it seems like the MLB card market is holding up the best out of the three currently. But with that being said, now that we went over a brief overview of the card market, I'm going to turn the camera on and show some of the cards that I bought, sold, and held over the past month or so. So stay tuned for that. So now that we got that market update out of the way, we can get into the fun part, I think at least, but we can look at some of the cards that I'm buying, selling, and holding. And for this, we'll just start with some of the cards that I'm holding, which I think that's the least exciting, so we'll start there. But if you remember looking at the graphs, the NFL card market is still pretty flat with a lot of softness. We typically see those cards begin to trend up towards the start of the season when the hype is the highest. So as far as cards that I'm currently holding, and this hasn't changed much since last month, but it's going to be my NFL cards. I have a really small collection. I don't think I'll ever sell this Patrick Mahomes. I think he's one of the greatest quarterbacks I've ever seen, even though it's a really small sample size. I just think he has a lot of talent and a lot of talent around him and a good head coach. So I think that his cards and his potential, he has a lot of room to grow, I still think. So I don't know if I'll ever sell this card. But then, the rest of these, I have Safe Space Sam, so Sam Darnold, Carson Wentz, and then Josh Allen. I am willing to sell these, but I think I'm just going to hold these until, near the start of the season and see what the NFL card market looks like around that time. So these are all just holds for me as of right now. And then I'm kind of embarrassed to show these cards, but I'm going to show them anyway because you can't win them all. But I do have these two cards, Deshaun, the Creep. So I picked these up right before he went Bill Cosby on us. So I don't know if I'll ever make my money back on these. But I do have these currently in my collection. I'm not proud of it, but you can't win them all. And then now we can go to some of the cards that I sold. So I mentioned this last month, but I did have quite a few of these Juan Soto and Ronald Acuna Jr. base rookie cards. So I did end up selling quite a few of these. I got lucky and I picked up a lot of these a couple years back in 2018 when they're a lot cheaper. So I ended up selling a lot of these cards. So I ended up freeing up a lot of cash based on these sales. I do have a couple still, but I did end up making quite a few sales on these base cards. And the main reason behind this is nothing against these two players. I think they have a lot of potential. They, could be the face of the MLB moving forward. But my main focus, and I mentioned this last time, is I'm trying to transition away from some of the base cards and really focus in on some serial numbered cards and some more limited edition cards. So I'm just selling some of the base cards that I have. I still have, some extras, but I did get rid of, quite a few of these base cards. So I sold some of those. And then also I'm planning on selling, some of these Topps Chrome base Ronald Acuna Jr.'s. And the main reason why that is similar to the last ones is I'm just trying to trim down some of my base collection. It's nothing against Ronald Acuna Jr. I still have this refractor here, and this is a PSA 10 of Ronald Acuna Jr. So this is one I'm going to hold on to, but I'm going to sell some of the base cards that I have, and these aren't refractors, these are just base. So I'm going to sell some more of these base cards just to free up some more cash so I can, have some more money to buy some higher end cards in the future. And then another card I haven't sold yet, but I mentioned this in the video earlier, that I do have some Donovan Mitchell cards. So this is a shock. So I do think that, if they make a deep playoff run or if he has a good series, then I think that these cards could spike a bit. So I'm going to be closely monitoring these card prices. If we do see a big spike in some of his cards, I have no problem selling this card, but if we don't see that, I'm pretty comfortable holding this through the off season and seeing where his cards look like in the future because he's still really young and a lot of talent. But if we do have a big spike, I have no problem selling this card because I'm not the biggest Donovan Mitchell fan. I just think that his cards are currently pretty undervalued, and I think overall he's still pretty undervalued because he plays on the Utah Jazz, which is a smaller basketball card market. And then now we can get to the fun part, or the best part, I think, but I'm going to go over some of the recent cards that I bought. So we'll start off, I showed this one last video, but I got this at a card shop actually, and this is a Ronald Acuna Jr. snapshots of Topps Archives in a PSA 10. So I picked this one up. I want to say this was $90. So I picked this one up for $90. I think it was listed at 100, but the owner went down to 90. So I got a pretty good deal on this. And like I mentioned earlier, I have nothing against Ronald Acuna Jr. at all. I've actually been picking up some of his cards while selling some of his base cards. But this is just a pickup for my personal collection. I don't plan on selling this because I do PC Acuna Jr. So this is just one to add to my collection. And then another recent pickup I had is this 1992 Upper Deck Shaquille O'Neal. So Shaq Daddy, the Big Diesel, the Big Cactus, whatever you want to call him, the Big Aristotle, the man of many nicknames. But this is his trade card, rookie card, in a PSA 8. And this is 1B, so actually his most popular one says the #1 draft pick up there. And that card is a lot more expensive than this card, but this card actually has a much lower print run because this was actually a redemption card back in the day. I picked this one up for $50, which I thought was just too low. And this is similar to the overall NBA card market. We did see a lot of weakness in the vintage cards too for NBA. So I just thought that, for $50 to pick up this card of, one of my favorite players, I just couldn't pass it up for $50. And I do think that, this will be a PC item, but I do think that this was a good value when I picked it up. Another card that I picked up is this 2012 Topps Heritage Mike Trout. And as you saw by the charts earlier, his cards were trending down. And I do think that Mike Trout will end up being one of the greatest baseball players of all time. This technically isn't his rookie card, but this is his first Heritage card. So a lot of people consider this his Topps Heritage rookie card. And this is a card that, I just felt comfortable picking up. Like I said, he's going to be one of the greatest players of all time, in my opinion. So I really feel comfortable picking this one up. I have most of his other rookie cards, so this is just one that I wanted to add to my Mike Trout PC. And I just thought that it was a good time to pick it up. And I thought that it was a safer investment and also pick up for my personal collection. And then the next card I picked up is this 2018 Topps Chrome Juan Soto. And as I mentioned in the video, I thought that his cards were trending downwards pretty significantly. So I just thought that this was a good time for me to pick up this card on a little bit of a discount. And I have a lot of faith in Juan Soto moving forward. I think he's one of the best young stars the game currently has. And I just think that this card was too cheap, so I ended up picking this one up. And this is only a PSA 9. This is Topps Chrome base, but the Chrome is a lot more limited than his base rookie card that I showed earlier. So I just thought that this was a card that I couldn't pass up, and I have a lot of faith in Juan Soto moving forward. And then the last card I picked up, and I think this is what I got the best deal on, but I mentioned this in the video too, but I did pick up this 2007 Topps rookie card of Kevin Durant, and this is the orange variation. And this one is a lot more limited than the white and the black variation. But this is only in a PSA 8, but it was actually in my price range. I picked this up for $210, so I thought that was just way too cheap. He already has a couple rings under his belt. He could potentially win another ring this year. I think they have a really good chance. And like I mentioned earlier, I think that he's going to go down as one of the greatest scorers of all time. This guy is simply unguardable. He does have some injury concerns, but at the end of the day, I just think he's just too good to pass up at this time, especially with, their potential with winning another championship this year. So I just picked this card up, and I'm pretty happy with the price that I got it at. And I think that this is going to be a decent short-term and then also long-term investment. But I do plan on probably keeping this in my PC for quite some time because I really like the look of this card, and he's in his Sonics uniform there. So I'm a little biased with that, living in the Seattle area currently. So that's the last of my pickups. I really hope you enjoyed the video today. I hope you got something out of it. If you did, please feel free to hit the like button and also subscribe. Thanks and have a good day.